You need to leave him. Today. Right now. Dr. Kara didn't look at the ultrasound screen. She stared at the file in her hands, her knuckles white, her breath coming in short, terrified gasps. She reached past me, slammed the deadbolt on the door, and shoved a document into my chest that shattered my reality. This isn't a medical chart, Audrey. It's proof that your entire marriage is a crime scene. I froze. I thought my baby was gone. I didn't know the monster was the man waiting in the parking lot. Before I tell you what she showed me, drop a comment. What's the biggest red flag you've ever ignored in a relationship? Let me know where you are watching from. I sat in my driveway for exactly 30 seconds. The engine was off, but my hands were still gripping the steering wheel so hard my fingers ached. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run inside and tear the house down brick by brick. But then I saw it. The tiny red light blinking above the garage door. Jared had installed those cameras 6 months ago. He said it was for my safety, to protect me and the baby. Now I knew better. It wasn't protection. It was surveillance. He was inside right now, probably watching the feed on his phone, looking for any crack in my expression, any sign that his house of cards was collapsing. I checked my reflection in the rearview mirror. My name is Audrey. I am 29 years old, and I am an architect. I design skyscrapers that can withstand earthquakes and hurricanes. I know how to build foundations that don't break. But for the last 7 months, I had let a man convince me that I was the unstable one. I wiped my face. I applied a fresh coat of lipstick. I forced the corners of my mouth up into a smile that didn't reach my eyes but would look convincing enough on a grainy security feed. This wasn't a marriage anymore. It was a performance. And I was about to give the performance of my life. People ask how I didn't see it coming. How a smart woman with a multi-million-dollar inheritance could let a man manipulate her so completely. It's called the boiled frog syndrome. Jared didn't wake up one day and decide to be a monster. He turned the heat up slowly, degree by agonizing degree. When I first got pregnant, his criticism was wrapped in concern. Are you sure you should eat that? Became, you're gaining too much weight. When I questioned his late nights, he didn't yell, he pitied me. He'd sigh and say, "Oh, Audrey, it's just your pregnancy brain again. You're being hysterical." He isolated me from my friends, claiming they were stressing me out. He made me doubt my own memory, my own sanity. He cooked me so slowly that I thanked him for the warm water while he was preparing to eat me alive. He thought he had broken me. He thought the hormones and the gaslighting had turned me into a compliant, confused little victim. But as I opened the car door, the victim stayed in the driver's seat. The woman who walked up the driveway was something else entirely. I unlocked the front door. Jared was standing in the kitchen, leaning against the counter. He looked up, his eyes scanning my face with the precision of a predator. "Hey, babe," he said, his voice smooth, practiced. "How was the appointment? Is everything okay?" My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. But my voice was steady. "It was perfect," I said. I walked over to him, wrapped my arms around his neck, and kissed the man who had bribed a nurse to violate my body. "The baby is healthy. The doctor said everything looks amazing." I felt his muscles relax. He let out a breath he'd been holding. "That's great news," he said, kissing my forehead. I was worried. He bought it. He thought he was still the puppet master. He didn't realize that I had just cut the strings. He went back to chopping vegetables, humming a little tune, completely unaware that the woman standing behind him was already calculating exactly how to burn his world to the ground. The facade cracked 48 hours later. I was in the kitchen, slicing strawberries for a smoothie I didn't want, when I heard the front door open. It wasn't just Jared. The heavy, deliberate clacking of heels on the hardwood told me he had brought reinforcements. Brenda walked in first. My mother-in-law didn't enter a room. She invaded it. She scanned the kitchen, her eyes landing on the bowl of fruit with a sneer that suggested I was committing a crime against nutrition. "Strawberries again?" she asked, dropping her purse on the counter. "No wonder you're getting so big, Audrey. You need to watch your sugar. You don't want to be one of those mothers who can't lose the baby weight." I gripped the knife handle, feeling the cold steel against my palm. "Hello to you too, Brenda," I said, keeping my voice light. Jared came in behind her. He looked terrible. His skin was gray, clammy, and he was sweating through his dress shirt even though the air conditioning was blasting. He wasn't the charming husband anymore. He was a cornered animal. He didn't even say hello. He walked straight to the fridge, grabbed a bottle of water, and downed half of it in one gulp. "We need to talk," he said, slamming the bottle down. "About the inheritance." "Not this again, Jared," I said, feigning exhaustion. "I told you, the lawyers said it's complicated." "It's not complicated," he shouted, the sudden volume making me flinch. "It's a simple transfer, Audrey. You just sign the power of attorney. That's it. Why are you making this so difficult?" He's right, Brenda chimed in, crossing her arms. A wife shouldn't hide assets from her husband. It's deceitful. It makes me wonder if you're really committed to this family. Jared is trying to build a future for that child, and you're treating him like an employee. I looked at them. The tag team from hell. Brenda, the enabler who had raised a narcissist. And Jared, the leech trying to bleed me dry. I noticed Jared's hand was shaking as he gripped the counter. His phone buzzed in his pocket, and he flinched like he'd been tasered. He didn't check it. He knew who it was. The loan sharks weren't asking politely anymore. I'm not hiding anything, I said, leaning back against the sink. I just want to make sure we do it right. For the baby. If you cared about the baby, you wouldn't be stressing your husband out like this. Brenda spat. Look at him. He's working himself to the bone, and you're just sitting here eating fruit and playing the victim. It's cold, Audrey. It's unnatural. Jared stepped into my personal space. I could smell the stale coffee and fear on his breath. I need that money access by Friday, he hissed. Do you hear me? Friday. Or I can't guarantee. I can't guarantee the accounts will be ready for the nursery renovations. It was a lie. And a lazy one. But I saw the terror in his eyes. He wasn't afraid of renovations. He was afraid of broken kneecaps. Okay, I whispered, looking down. I'll call the lawyer tomorrow, I promise. The tension in the room snapped. Jared slumped, relief washing over him like a drug. Good, he breathed. That's all I wanted. Just handle it. He walked out of the kitchen, pulling his phone from his pocket, already typing a desperate message to the people hunting him. Brenda gave me one last look of disgust. Try a salad next time, she said, and followed her son. I waited until I heard the television turn on in the living room. Then I put down the knife. My hands weren't shaking. I wasn't scared of them anymore. I was just done feeding the parasites. I didn't go to the lawyer's office. I went to my studio. It was a converted guest house at the back of the property. The one place Jared rarely entered because he said the smell of drafting paper and clay bored him. I locked the door, engaging the heavy deadbolt I had installed years ago for privacy. Today, it was for war. I sat at my drafting table and opened my laptop. I didn't waste time searching for a generic divorce attorney. I called a number my father had given me years ago. A man who specialized in asset recovery for high-net-worth individuals. He picked up on the second ring. It's Audrey, I said. I need a forensic audit on my husband. And I need a private investigator who isn't afraid of what they might find. 48 hours later, the report was on my screen. It wasn't just bad. It was catastrophic. The investigator, a woman named Roz who spoke in short, clipped sentences, laid it out for me. Jared wasn't just bad with money. He was drowning. He had blown through his own savings, maxed out 3 credit cards I didn't know existed. And then, in a stroke of desperate genius, he had turned to the kind of lenders who don't report to credit bureaus. He owed $250,000 to a loan shark syndicate operating out of a strip mall in Reseda. That was why he was sweating. That was why he needed access to my inheritance by Friday. He wasn't renovating a nursery. He was trying to keep his kneecaps intact. I looked at the number on the screen. $250,000. It was a fortune to most people. To me, it was the price of a mid-sized renovation project. I could write a check and make it go away. That's what the old Audrey would have done. The supportive wife would have cried, lectured him, and then paid the ransom to save her family. But I wasn't his wife anymore. I was his adversary. I called my lawyer back. The debt, I said. Is it purchasable? There was a pause on the line. Technically, yes. It's a promissory note. If the holder is willing to sell, you can buy the rights to collect. Buy it, I said. Use the shell company. Keep my name off the paperwork until the ink is dry. I want to own his debt. The transaction took less than an hour. I didn't read the fine print. I just authorized the wire transfer. I bought the note for 80 cents on the dollar because even loan sharks prefer guaranteed cash over breaking legs. When the confirmation email hit my inbox, I felt a cold, sharp thrill run down my spine. It was better than anger. It was power. Jared thought he was running from dangerous criminals. He didn't realize he was running straight toward me. I wasn't just the woman he cheated on. I wasn't just the wife he planned to rob. I was his creditor. I owned his debt. I owned his fear. And very soon, I would own him. I closed the laptop and walked to the window, looking out at the main house. I could see Jared pacing in the living room. Phone to his ear, probably begging for an extension. I took a sip of my coffee, let him sweat. The interest was just starting to accrue. Friday arrived with the weight of a storm front. I spent the morning in my studio, not designing, but waiting. Roz, my investigator, had promised to deliver the final piece of the puzzle by noon, the kill shot evidence. The footage that would prove Jared wasn't just a bad husband, but a felon. At 11:45 in the morning, my phone pinged. It was a secure link. I opened it, and there it was. Grainy but unmistakable footage from a parking lot security camera. Jared, looking nervous, handing a thick envelope to a woman in scrubs. The nurse. The timestamp matched the date of my procedure, but that wasn't all. Roz had dug deeper. She found the paper trail of the embezzlement. Jared had siphoned over $100,000 from his own firm's client accounts to pay the bribe and keep the loan sharks at bay. It was sloppy, desperate work. The kind of crime that leaves fingerprints everywhere if you know where to look. I downloaded everything to an encrypted drive. I felt a surge of adrenaline. I had him. I had everything I needed to put him away for years. I put the drive in my purse and walked back to the main house to get a glass of water. I was careless. I was arrogant. I left my purse on the kitchen island while I went to the fridge. When I turned around, Jared was standing there. He was holding my purse, and in his other hand, he held Roz's business card. It must have fallen out when I put the drive away. "Who is Rosalind Weaver?" he asked. His voice was low, dangerous. "Why do you have a private investigator's card?" "Audrey." My heart stopped. The air left the room. He took a step toward me, and for the first time, I saw violence in his eyes. He wasn't the bumbling, desperate husband anymore. He was a man with nothing left to lose. "I asked you a question," he shouted, throwing the purse onto the floor. "What are you doing? Are you checking up on me? Is that it?" He cornered me against the counter. He was close enough that I could see the dilated pupils, the sweat on his upper lip. My mind raced. If I told him the truth, he might kill me. Or worse, he might destroy the evidence before I could use it. He would realize the game was up and go scorched earth. I had to lie. I had to give the performance of my life, right now. With no rehearsal. I let my eyes fill with tears. I let my lip tremble. "It's not about you, Jared," I sobbed. "It's my father." He froze. "Your father?" I wanted to find him," I stammered, leaning into the lie. "For the baby. I thought maybe if he knew he was going to be a grandfather, he might want to know us." I hired her to find him. It was a gamble. My father had walked out on us 20 years ago. It was a sore subject, a deep wound I never touched. Jared stared at me, his chest heaving. He looked at the card, then back at me. He was processing, calculating. "You hired a private eye to find your deadbeat dad?" he asked, his voice skeptical but losing its edge. "I didn't want to tell you," I cried, burying my face in my hands. "I knew you'd think it was stupid. But I wanted my family back." The tension broke. Jared let out a scoff of disbelief. "Jesus, Audrey. You scared the hell out of me," I thought. "Never mind." He shook his head, disgusted by my perceived weakness. "You're pathetic, chasing after a man who doesn't want you. Just like you cling to me." He tossed the card onto the counter. "Fire her. We don't have money to waste on your daddy issues. We need that inheritance transfer done today." "I know," I sniffled, wiping my eyes. "I'm sorry. I'll handle it." He walked away, muttering about my incompetence. I waited until he was gone, then I grabbed the card in my purse. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely zip it closed. I had survived, but I knew I couldn't keep this up. The clock was ticking louder than ever. The party was tomorrow. And tomorrow, I wouldn't need to lie anymore. The gender reveal party was everything Jared dreamed of, and everything I despised. A flashy cliffside Airbnb packed with influencers, deafening music, and decorations staged for Instagram. Jared strutted around in a linen suit with his investor friends, convinced his secret wire transfer was about to make him untouchable. Brenda prowled the buffet, pretending she was already celebrating victory. I stood at the AV booth, calm and waiting. When Jared called everyone together for the countdown, he pulled me on stage and whispered that we were about to welcome a son his legacy. I smiled and agreed. The clock hit 0. Instead of colored smoke, security footage appeared on the giant screen, Jared handing a cash-filled envelope to a woman in scrubs. Then his voicemail played over the speakers, bragging to his mistress about abandoning me and running off with the money. The party went silent. Jared panicked and shouted for me to turn it off. Before he could reach the laptop, 2 officers stepped forward and arrested him for grand theft and embezzlement. As he was dragged away, he begged me with his eyes to save him. I didn't. I watched him go. Outside, Brenda attacked me, screaming that I ruined her son. She confessed she helped fund the bribes and needed Jared to pay the debt. I told her the truth 2 weeks earlier. I bought that debt myself. She had co-signed the loans. Jared couldn't pay, so I foreclosed on her house. She had 30 days to leave. She collapsed on the pavement. I walked away. Months later, Jared pled guilty and is serving 8 years. Brenda was evicted and disappeared from my life. My son was born healthy. I feel nothing but peace. People say mercy is strength. In my world, mercy gives the wolves another door to claw through. I didn't just expose them. I made sure they could never hurt us again.